Welcome to Cold Case Chronicles. Tonight, we're looking at 5 of the most perplexing disappearances in modern history. Cases where people vanished without a trace, leaving behind no body, no motive, and no clear explanation. These are the cases investigators have never been able to close. This is 5 people who vanished without a trace. The following content discusses real missing persons cases and contains descriptions of on the night of May 14, 2008. 19-year-old Brandon Swanson called his parents from a dark stretch of county road in rural Minnesota. His car had gone off the road. He was okay, just stuck. He would walk toward the nearest town and meet them there. 47 minutes later, he shouted 2 words, "Oh shit," and the line went silent. He was never seen again. Brandon Lee Swanson grew up in Marshall, Minnesota, a quiet agricultural city of 13,000 in the state's southwestern corner. He was 19, recently out of high school, easygoing and well-liked. His future stretched open in front of him. On the evening of May 13th, he drove to a small gathering near Canby, a farming town about 30 miles from his home. He spent the night with friends. Sometime in the early hours of May 14th, he got in his car and headed home. Somewhere on a dark county road, his car left the pavement and sank into a ditch. The car wasn't going anywhere. At 1:54 a.m., Brandon called home. He told his parents roughly where he was and said he'd walk toward the small town of Lind to meet them. Brian and Annette Swanson were in the car within minutes, driving toward where their son said he was. The call stayed connected. Brandon walked and talked, describing the grass underfoot, the wind, the distant lights he believed were Lind on the horizon. His voice was calm. There was no fear in it, just a young man working through an inconvenient situation. Then, at approximately 2:30 a.m., 2 words, "Oh shit." The call cut out. His parents called back immediately. The phone rang. No one answered. They drove to the location he'd described and found nothing. No Brandon, no tracks, no signs of anything. His car was located later, not where he'd claimed, but nearly 2 miles away. In the dark, Brandon had been walking in the wrong direction. A search was launched by dawn. Over 150 volunteers joined law enforcement in a coordinated sweep of the area. Bloodhounds tracked a scent for a short distance, then lost it. Helicopters swept the surrounding farmland. Dive teams entered the Yellow Medicine River. The search covered more than 100 square miles. Every ditch, waterway, and abandoned structure within the probable range of his walk. Nothing was found. Not a piece of clothing. Not a footprint beyond the immediate area of his car. Not a single trace. His phone never connected to another cell tower after 2:30 a.m. Wherever Brandon had stopped, he stayed there. Investigators believe the most likely explanation is that Brandon accidentally walked into the Yellow Medicine River in total darkness. The river runs through that part of Minnesota in channels that are invisible at night, dark banks that simply fall away into deep, fast-moving water. Some theorize that "oh shit" marked on July 8, 2014, security cameras inside Varna Airport in Bulgaria captured footage that has baffled investigators ever since. A 28-year-old German tourist walks calmly into the airport medical office, then suddenly bolts. He sprints through the terminal, vaults a security fence with both hands, and disappears into open fields beyond the airport perimeter. His name was Lars Mittank. No confirmed sighting of him has ever been made since that moment. Lars Mittank was 28 years old, a software professional from Hamburg, Germany, with no known history of serious mental illness or erratic behavior. In late June 2014, Lars and a group of close friends traveled to Golden Sands, a popular Bulgarian Black Sea resort, for a summer holiday. For the first several days, the trip was entirely unremarkable. Sun, beach, evenings out. A normal European summer. Then, around July 6th, Something went wrong. Lars got into a physical altercation at a bar. Reports indicate it started over an argument about a soccer match. 4 men were involved. Lars suffered a ruptured eardrum. A local doctor told him it was not safe to fly until the injury healed. The cabin pressure could cause serious damage. His friends couldn't delay their return home. They flew back to Germany. Lars stayed behind alone, checked into a hotel in Varna, and waited for medical clearance. That's when the messages started. Lars texted his mother, "Do not fly. I have to be careful of something." He also asked her to cancel his health insurance, a deeply unusual request that she did not understand. Over the following day, his messages grew darker. He told her he was being followed. He was certain of it. He checked out of his hotel suddenly, leaving behind his luggage, a significant amount of cash, and most of his belongings. On the morning of July 8th, Lars appeared at Varna airport. His scheduled flight was still days away. He went directly to the airport medical office, apparently seeking early clearance to fly home. The security footage shows him entering the office and sitting down with the doctor. He appears disheveled and frightened, but coherent. The conversation begins normally. Then something changes. Lars glances through the glass partition. His body goes rigid. He stands up abruptly and runs. He sprints through the terminal at full speed, scattering travelers, clears a security fence at the perimeter with both hands, and is gone. The cameras never pick him up again. Bulgarian police launched a search of the fields and roads surrounding the airport. The German embassy was notified and became involved in the investigation. The CCTV footage was publicly released, and the story drew international attention. Thousands of tips came in from across Europe. None produced a confirmed sighting. A bag found near a river in Romania in subsequent years was examined, but never positively identified as Lars's belongings. His phone and bank accounts have not. On September 14, 2007, 14-year-old Andrew Gosden put on his school uniform, kissed his parents goodbye, and walked out the front door. He never made it to school. Instead, he went to the bank, withdrew £200 in cash, and bought a one-way train ticket to London. 5 hours and a world away from home. CCTV captured him walking out of London King's Cross station at 11:12 in the morning. It was the last confirmed image of Andrew Gosden. Andrew Gosden was 14 years old, from Doncaster in South Yorkshire, a working-class city in the north of England, where he lived with his parents Kevin and Glenys. He was, by every account, exceptionally bright. He scored in the top percentiles on academic tests and had a deep passion for mathematics, Japanese anime, and manga culture. His parents described him as quiet and deeply absorbed in the things he loved, someone who could spend hours in his own world, content and self-sufficient. There were some reports that Andrew had been unhappy at school, that he may have been experiencing social difficulties or something that went undiscussed at home. But his home life was stable. His family was close. There was no crisis anyone could point to. No goodbye note. No warning. On the morning of September 14th, Kevin and Glenys left for work. Andrew got ready as if for a normal school day. He then walked to his local bank branch and withdrew £200, the entirety of his account. He travelled to Doncaster railway station and bought a single ticket to London King's Cross. Not a return, a single, one way. He boarded the 10:01 service. He arrived in London and walked through the King's Cross ticket barriers at 11:12 a.m. Cameras caught him, calm, in his school uniform, alone. After that frame, nothing. In one of the most surveilled cities on earth, Andrew Gosden walked away from King's Cross and disappeared. By evening, his parents knew something was wrong. He hadn't come home. His phone went unanswered. Police were contacted. The railway ticket, the cash withdrawal, and the King's Cross footage were found within the first 24 hours. A major investigation was launched. Andrew's description was circulated nationally. His case was featured on Crime Watch, Britain's highest-profile crime appeals program. Investigators reviewed thousands of hours of CCTV footage from across central London. Despite the density of cameras in the city, no further footage of Andrew was ever confirmed. Thousands of tips arrived over the years. Andrew's father Kevin made repeated public appeals on television, in newspapers, and through the charity Missing People UK. Kevin Gosden has worked with investigators for nearly 2 decades, following leads across the country, knocking on doors, and refusing to accept that his son's story has ended. Not one confirmed sighting has emerged. Security cameras at the Ugly Tuna Saloon in Columbus, Ohio, recorded something in the early hours of April 2, 2006, that has never been explained. 27-year-old medical student Brian Shaffer walked through the bar's entrance and was captured on camera doing so. He was never captured on camera walking back out. Despite cameras covering every known exit from the building, Brian Shaffer was never seen leaving. He entered, and then he was simply gone. Brian Shaffer was 27 years old, and in his second year at the Ohio State University College of Medicine, one of the country's most respected medical programs. He was on the dean's list. His professors and classmates described him as personable, driven, and deeply committed to becoming a physician. His personal life had recently been touched by grief. His mother, Renee Shaffer, had died of cancer just weeks before his disappearance. Brian was mourning, but he was not showing signs of a breakdown. He had a girlfriend, Alexis Wallagora, whom friends and family expected he would marry. On the night of April 1, 2006, April Fool's Day, Brian went out with Alexis and their friend Clint Florence to celebrate the end of the spring academic quarter. The three of them moved through several bars in Columbus's Short North District, a busy nightlife area near the university campus. Their last stop was the Ugly Tuna Saloon, located inside the Arena Grand building, a few blocks from Ohio State. Shortly after 1:30 a.m., Alexis decided to call it a night. She and Clint left the bar. Brian said he wanted to stay a little longer and told them he'd be home soon. At approximately 1:55 a.m., security cameras captured Brian near the bar's entrance, talking with 2 women he didn't appear to know. It was the last confirmed image of him. When the bar closed and the remaining patrons filed out, Brian Shaffer was not among them. His phone went directly to voicemail from 2 a.m. onward. Alexis tried to reach him throughout the night. By morning, she contacted police. Brian had not been home. Columbus police detectives reviewed every frame of security footage from the Ugly Tuna Saloon and the surrounding Arena Grand building. The bar had multiple cameras. Investigators confirmed they covered all known entrances and exits. Brian Shaffer was not seen on any of them leaving. Not through the front, not through the back, not through any service door. The only anomaly investigators noted was a section of exterior scaffolding. Construction work was underway, and a small area of the building's perimeter was not covered by any camera. It remains possible that Brian exited through this gap, but no camera anywhere in the surrounding city ever captured him walking away. His bank accounts were never accessed. His car sat untouched. The FBI was consulted. A substantial reward was offered. The case attracted national media coverage. At approximately 1 o'clock on Christmas morning, 1945, Jenny Sodder woke to the smell of smoke rising through her home in Fayetteville, West Virginia. The house was on fire. George and Jenny managed to escape with 4 of their older children, but 5 of their other children, Maurice, Martha, Louise, Jenny, and Betty, could not be reached. The flames were too intense. When investigators sifted through the ashes, they expected to find remains. Instead, they found almost nothing. And what George and Jenny discovered in the days that followed convinced them their children had not died in that fire. They had been taken. George Sodder, born Giorgi Sodari in Tula, Italy, had emigrated to the United States and built a life in Fayetteville, West Virginia, where he ran a successful hauling business. He and his wife Jenny had 10 children ranging in age from 2 to 17. By 1945, They were a respected and prosperous family in their community. In the months before Christmas, George had made what would turn out to be a dangerous enemy. He was openly critical of Italian dictator Benito Mussolini, a position that did not sit well with some members of the local Italian-American community. An insurance salesman George had turned down came to the house sometime in 1945 and reportedly told him, "Your house is going to go up in smoke and your children are going to be destroyed." George had reported this to no avail. Christmas Eve arrived. The family celebrated, exchanged gifts, and put the younger children to bed. George and some of the older children retired for the night. At around midnight, Jenny received a strange phone call, a woman she didn't recognize, asking for someone by a name she didn't know. Jenny stayed up for some time after and then fell asleep on the couch. Around 1 a.m., she woke to smoke. The house was burning. George, Jenny, and 4 of their older children escaped. The other 5, the ones sleeping upstairs, could not be reached. George tried to re-enter the house multiple times. He tried to use his truck to reach a ladder to the upper windows. The truck would not start. A second truck also failed. The family watched the house burn, helpless. The fire department did not arrive for several hours. By the time it did, the house had been reduced to ash. Investigators searched for remains. They found almost nothing. No intact human bones were recovered from the ruins, not from 5 children ranging in age from 5 to 14. Fire investigators ruled the cause accidental and attributed the lack of remains to the intensity of the blaze. George and Jenny refused to accept this. They began methodically documenting the things that didn't make sense. The telephone line had been cut, not burned, but physically severed, approximately 130 feet from the house, before the fire started. This was discovered the following day. The portable ladder George kept on the side of the house, which he had planned to use to climb to his children's window, was found. 5 disappearances, 5 sets of unanswered questions. These cases remain officially open. If you or someone you know has any information about any of these individuals, please contact the relevant law enforcement agencies. Links are in the description below. If you found this video compelling, please subscribe to Cold Case Chronicles for new cases every week. Leave a comment telling us which case stayed with you the most. Until next time, stay curious.